Welcome to Truth Be Told, the podcast about how to be genuine and live our authentic lives. Today, I am excited as usual about my guest. He is a success coach and he has co-founded the company called Assurance Real Estate Acquisition with his partner, Jessica Ng. Listeners and viewers, welcome to my show, Fong Chua. Fong, welcome to Truth Be Told.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. Glad to be here.
Oh, so glad that you have you here. Now, though I was looking up, and one thing that caught my attention right away is the way you introduce yourself. You mentioned right off the top a quote by Henry Ford. Whether you think you're wrong, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. That right there says a lot about your can-do attitude. That you have a lot of can-do attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I would say so. It depends on whether I want to do something or not. Like the quote says, like whether you think you can, whether you think you can't, you're right. The reason why that's one of the quotes I really, really like is because out of all the quotes out there, and there's a lot of very, very strong quotes, if you don't believe in those quotes, then you're not gonna succeed with that quote being something that you want to live by. For instance, there's a quote that says, action cures fear. If you don't believe, and if you don't think that action will indeed cure fear, you're not going to take the action to cure the fear, right? But you just have to remember that anything that you want to do, anything that you want to be, anything that you want to achieve, if you don't believe any of those things, then it's never going to happen. And at the same time, if you believe that all that stuff is going to fail, then for sure you're going to fail.
Yeah. I don't know, like success has a lot to do, I think sometimes with just the mindset. Like, you want to be successful, just at least believe in yourself. Just start with being your best friend, your the biggest supporter. You want to be successful, start being your biggest ally rather than your biggest adversary.
The thing is, there's a lot of people out there who are afraid to sometimes achieve. Like there is a fear of success, and there is a fear of achievement, because so many people out there around them aren't doing the same things.
Yeah.
So they want to be part of a group. They want to be the same as everybody else. They want to be part of that community. And if everybody else is doing one thing and all of a sudden you say, oh, I want to go out and create a business, I want to go out and invest in real estate, I want to go out there and write a book, then all of a sudden you're a little bit different. And regardless of how much you believe that you can do that, you also don't want to be outcasted, or you don't want to be singled out or isolated from the group. So then you start not believing in yourself. Yeah. And you start thinking, well, they're not doing it, why am I doing it? So it's kind of sometimes very difficult to actually believe in yourself, because everybody around you may or may not be doing the same thing, and you want to be part of that group. But in the end, if you really want to achieve something, what I've always been telling a lot of my clients is that everything that you've ever want to do, everything that you want to achieve, everything that you want to learn, somebody out there is already doing it, or has done it, or has learned it, and is teaching it. Reach out to those people who are successful in those areas that you want to be successful in, and ask them, what is their journey? What did they do to succeed? What did they do that failed? Learn from them. And then start surrounding yourself with other people who have the same aspirations, with the same goals, so that you can all grow together. So instead of you being in an environment where everybody is telling you, oh, you can't run a marathon, or you can't invest in real estate, you might want to put yourself in a group where they're all doing running and they're all investing in real estate, and they will tell you, yeah, you can do it. And you have this nice group that supports you and guides you along. And you in turn will start kind of matching up with that group of people, and then you'll start succeeding, and then you could start believing yourself more.
Going back to what you said about like that fear of being outcast or isolated or being different. What's wrong with being different? We're There's nothing wrong with being different or or being no or being or just standing out. We shouldn't be so complacent and being and always trying to follow the pack. Whatever happened to just trying to stand on our own and create our own ideas?
Well, the issue with that is it gets lonely. And you like to, and people like to have a group. They want to be part of something. They want to be involved. They want to be included. And that dates all the way back to like the beginning of time when people are living in tribes. If you're living on your own, you're not going to survive, right? If you get outcasted from that group, well,
Yeah,
then you have to fight for food. You have to find your own shelter. You have to build your own shelter. Whereas when you're in a community, they all help each other out. They all have their own roles,
yeah,
right? So that mentality carries over to this day and age where you want to be in a group. And when I'm talking about you don't want to be different, you just don't want to be different within the group that you're in right now,
yeah.
because that's the group you're comfortable with. And it's very difficult to change that mindset and go, you know what? I'm going to introduce myself into a different group, because then now
Mhm.
you have to start that process all over again. But once you're in that different group that has that different mentality, then you can start changing the way you think and the goals that you have. And you're not alone anymore because you have another group that supports you. You might be alone within your original group, but then you have another group that you could kind of be a part of.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong. There's of course like there's times where you need a strong, like support in the group. There's also the times where like you need to kind of stand out and not be like a clone of everybody, right? There's needs to be that balance in between, right?
Well, yeah, for sure. Like the thing is, there's only one you, and always be you. And the thing is, when you
Absolutely.
start finding that you're losing who you are and losing your the ethics that you've been growing up with, or the what do you call it, the morals that you've been growing up with, then you may want to consider, hey, maybe I don't want to change too much. You still want to have a part of you doing what you're doing that's new,
Yeah.
right? Do it your own way, right? You don't have to do how everybody else does it. If you do it your own way, that's ethically, that's moral, that's correct in your own thought process, then do it that way. It's going to be unique to you. Don't try and copy. You might have other people guiding you along and giving you here's a measuring stick, or here's a path for you to follow, but only use it as a guide. It's not concrete. You don't have to follow step by step, but you can kind of tweak it and make it your own so that it's still unique to you and you're still happy with the results and you're still happy with you, even if you're traveling a different path or a new path.
Yeah. And speaking of taking like a different path, like I want to talk about how you went from being an engineer into becoming a successful, like just a success coach.
You live in the same area as I do, Edmonton, Alberta, and as you know, our whole economy is based on oil and gas. And if oil and gas goes up and down, that's how our economy goes. Our real estate goes up and down because of oil and gas. Our jobs are great when oil is up, and our jobs are bad when oil is down. So
Yeah.
for myself, when I got into the engineer realm, I thought, no, that's going to be my career. That's going to be the rest of my life. That's all I'm going to be doing for 40 years of my life. And then once I hit 2008, 2007, 2009
Oh
time,
God, that year.
that's
Oh my
when
God.
everything went downhill. And our firm at the time was basically saying, well, most of you are going to be laid off because there's no work. So then that was my first experience as to what a recession would be like and what losing jobs would be like. And basically, if you hear a phone call, that means that person is going to be called into the office and they're going to be gone. So that company went from 800 some employees down to 125 employees at that time.
What?
Right. So it was a
Oh,
massive layoff.
oh.
So then my girlfriend at the time, which is now my wife, kind of said, okay, we need to do something different. You could be as loyal as you want to a company, but eventually you'll become a number. Eventually the numbers won't work out and you'll become a number and you would be the next one to go. So for us, instead of going out and advancing our skill sets in engineering, which a lot of people would do, because that's what they're comfortable with. If they're in the engineering realm, they're gonna go, you know what, I'm gonna take extra courses, advanced courses in engineering, and then that would specialize me so that I could get a job that specializes in that spot in engineering. What we did was, you know what, let's think of another path that's completely different from engineering, so that if anything does completely shut us out from engineering world, we have another world that we can venture into. And that's when we started reading the Rich Dad Poor Dad books, the investment books, the business books, the real estate books, and we started looking into real estate. And then from there, we built our portfolio from 0 properties to about 24, 25 properties, over 30, 35 units, managing it ourselves, partnering up with people, building that empire with regards to real estate. And then from there, we also had a coach that coaches us along, helping us with the business aspect, with the real estate aspect. And then they kind of kept on challenging me. Well, why don't you start looking into this? Why don't you start looking into how insurance is going to help you, or how writing books would help you, or how speaking would help you? So then that journey took me to speaking engagements, to coaching other clients, to doing like webinars and seminars online. I've been speaking all over the world through Zoom, and then also starting a podcast. So that's kind of the journey as to a very, very quick version of where I was from to where I am today.
Hence that little the clip that I saw online when you are speaking of taking pride in challenges, because you were, because from what I understand, in those challenges, there's the 2 things that you could do. You can either just say challenge accepted, or you can just kind of crumble into pieces. But to me, it sounds like when you were faced with this challenge that you and your wife were faced, you just took it just in the head on, and you've turned into the success that you become today.
Yeah, definitely. If life had no challenges, there would be no growth, there would be no learning experiences, and there would be no new experiences. And the thing is,
Amen.
right, we constantly feel like we need to be comfortable. Well, comfortable means you're stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're stagnant, nothing happens. And if you could think about everything that you're proud of in your life, everything that you're happy about in your life, in one way or another, you were challenged about something in order to reach that happiness or that skill set that you're very, very proud of.
Yeah.
Like if you did a marathon, or if you ran 100 meters, or if you went and played a game of hockey or soccer or whatever it is, and you won that game, guess what? You took on a challenge to play against
Yeah.
another team. Whether it's rec league or professional, whatever level it is, there was a challenge. And if you didn't go out there and meet that challenge, you wouldn't have experienced that euphoria and that happiness of winning that game or scoring that goal.
Like the reward that you get when you went all the steps in order to reach that end goal, that feeling that you can look back at that road of hard work, that the sweat, you can look back and go, yeah, I went through all of that, and this is the outcome. Man, it feels good, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, rather than just oh, the basic task just being the average. It feels good, right?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and also and the what I've found is that uh, with the real teaching about sometimes like real estate and finance, because I know that's probably what you teach with your company. I sometimes wonder if if financial education is something that that the current education system in in high school should have started teaching years ago.
I totally agree with that. I think that there should be some form of financial teachings in school, and the earlier the better. I
Yeah.
mean, like, how many of us didn't realize what a credit score was until all of a sudden you have to go either rent a place or buy a place? And then all of a sudden realize, wait a minute, how much do I need for a down payment, or else I'm not going to get a place? Like, it's one of those things that nobody tells you. And then, so where do you learn that from? You learn that from your parents, who technically didn't learn it from anybody else. They
Yeah.
kind of found their way through it themselves through trial and error. And then now they're
Hmm.
taking that experience, which is now what, 20, 30 years later, to teach to you. So
Uh-huh.
that's where we're learning our financial literacy from our parents, who kind of didn't know themselves and they kind of figured it out themselves and they passed that on. So then for my, like, that's why I do believe that school system should have something that at least gets you to recognize what you need to either buy a home, or what a credit score is, or all that kind of stuff, so that people are actually somewhat prepared when they graduate, when they get their first job, and what that job could eventually be for qualifying for a place and all that kind of stuff, right? And unfortunately, our school system is still kind of structured in a way that it was structured decades ago, where it's because of the farming seasons and teaching their kids to work for a company and work for an employer. But they don't teach them to become entrepreneurs. They don't teach them to buy homes. They don't teach them any of that stuff, because
Yeah.
it's just not the same mindset.
Or even to invest for retirement.
Right.
Yeah.
And the
And,
thing is, because when it comes to money, it's such a touchy subject, that
mhm.
everybody has a different thought process and different tie to what money means to them,
Yeah.
that it becomes very difficult to go, okay, let's teach it this way. But then all of a sudden, this other person goes, oh, I don't want you to teach my child that way. And then there's a lot of controversy with that. So it's a very difficult subject to implement into a curriculum, which is
Hmm.
why I recommend people to start talking to other people and go, hey, what do you do? How did you buy real estate? How did you buy more than 5 properties? Right? How did you invest in the stock market? How did you do this? How did you do that? And start asking those questions before you dive into it, and ask people who's done it. Don't
Yeah.
ask people who hasn't done it.
Yeah. Well, it was where because we're at we're currently in the times where baby boomers are retiring, and now just us millennials could just carry just such a large amount of debt with the student loans and the credit cards. It's ridiculous, and I don't know if the baby boomers would even carry that much a financial situation with when they were younger.
Well, all that stuff was
Um,
new, right? It's all a different world right now.
it, but and also you've looking at what you've done. You also value you're just giving back, because I see that you with your organization, you have this raising the roof, with just fighting homelessness. Is this correct?
Well, for like the properties that we invest in,
Yeah.
and with the investors that we work with on those properties, well, on a yearly basis, portions of those funds will then go towards donating to Raise a Roof, which is helping homelessness. Yeah.
So part of your work includes the Make More, Work Less book series. That's actually where you teach people about financial literacy.
Mhm.
Just to go back to,
Yeah.
like, tell us how, like how that came about.
Well, when we first looked into real estate, we were learning a whole bunch of stuff that, again, nobody told us about. And we're like, wow, look at this new world. Look at this world of stuff that we didn't know.
Yeah.
So then we started looking into other stuff, like how do you buy life insurance correctly so that you can retire off life insurance if need be? How do you buy gold and silver? How do you buy stocks? How do you do network marketing? How do you do all that kind of stuff? So we were starting to absorb all this information, and a lot of things we've actually implemented. We bought certain types of insurance. We've done certain network marketing. We buy gold and silver on a consistent basis. So we do a lot of these things. And then people started asking us, well, what exactly do you do? And that conversation lasts a good 3 to 4 hours because I'm talking about all these different subjects, right? At a very introductory level.
Yeah.
And then my coach go, well, that's not very effective of your time. Why don't you write a book about it? So then I'm like, okay, so let's write a book. So our first book, Make More Work Less, is basically an introduction to all the stuff that we set up for ourselves for our financial foundation, whether it's life insurance, real estate, gold and silver, network marketing, or what was it, exempt markets. We've implemented all that stuff and we kind of introduced it in the book so that we could go, hey, why don't you read this book? Let us know which ones you're more interested in. So when we do start talking to each other, we could focus in on that subject so that we're not wasting people's time. And plus, if you go, hey, we really want to know more about this other subject, you know what? I have an expert that can really help you out on that. So why don't we bypass me and you talk to this person and I'll make the introduction. So then as we were writing our first book, all of a sudden we're like, wait a minute, we have a lot more information that we want to share. And basically at the same time, we were writing 3 books.
Yeah.
And we basically separated it out and released each book at a different time so that we're not putting all information in one big book. And I'm like, okay, great. Our fourth book was written based on a dare because somebody goes, how fast can you write a book? I'm like, oh, I've really wanted to. I could probably finish a book from start to finish in hand in about a month. And nobody
Whoa,
believed me, so I tested it out. So that's how we got our fourth book out. And then
a
later
month?
on, yeah.
My God, like I can't even. There's some people that some authors can't even. Wow. Whoa.
Yeah, so then came the next 2, 3 other books. So we have 8 books out right now.
Where else are they available?
Mainly just go to Amazon. If not, you could contact me directly. I could do a signed copy and send that out if need be.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, you've heard it here, listeners and viewers. Make sure that you get in touch with Fong Chua in order to get a copy if you are interested. And getting to share that information, what do you think with people? What do you think is the most gratifying part?
Being a person who helps other people achieve certain things that they never thought they would achieve. I love seeing how they grow. I love seeing how they improve. I love seeing how their lives change when it was a very small part of what I just put in and help out. It might be a comment, it might be just a little bit of guidance, and then you watch them soar. I had many clients come back and said they cried when they opened their package and their books was in there because they never experienced what becoming an author would be like. I had clients who joined speaking competitions and won awards because I challenged them to, hey, why don't you jump into this and try it? Right? You
Yeah,
never know what you're going to do until you try it. And sure enough, they've won certain levels of speaking contests, and they're very, very grateful, and they feel very, very proud of themselves. I have a more of a family member who says that they will never be able to run a marathon or a half marathon. And I go, why not? And
yeah,
I found out it's that mindset. The mindset stops them, that limiting belief stops them from actually trying it. So then what happened was like, I'm like, okay, why don't we just sign up together? I'll run with you and watch. You're gonna finish a half marathon. And sure enough, that's what happened. And to this day, she goes and runs half marathons on a consistent basis.
yeah. I know that it's an old saying to go. You could do anything if you put your mind into it, but it is very true. The mindset of someone can make the biggest difference. And also, clearly, you are a mentor. You know, like you've clearly played into that, like with your books, as well as another club where we both have in common Toastmasters.
Yep.
Toastmasters. Would you have ever? Yeah, like, that has helped us so much with public speaking, just the art of conversation, of communicating information.
Toastmasters is one of the organizations that really helps a lot of people when it comes to public speaking. It's one of the avenues that I went with, but that's not the only thing I went into. I also did a lot of like other outside speaking courses and masterminds and lots of coaching courses and all that kind of stuff. So like it's a combination of everything. One thing about Toastmasters that is very, very good is it's a great entry point for a lot of people. If they really want to just jump in there and try something out, it's a very cost-effective way to
Mm-hmm.
surround yourself with people who wants to grow and learn and speak.
Yeah.
However, there is a lot of people that I know who is part of Toastmasters who don't advance very much because in the end they're not motivated, they're not challenged, they're not pushing themselves hard enough, and all they do is attend, and all of a sudden they stop attending. So the thing is, like everything else that people sign up for, if you don't actively get involved with stuff, and it could be Toastmasters, it could be Dale Carnegie, it could be coaching sessions, it could be speaking engagements and all that kind of stuff. If you're not actively doing it, then eventually you'll lose that skill that you built out up, or you completely just lose that momentum and don't do it at all.
Part of your the way that you like to communicate with people is your podcast show, your the peak potential success show. You know, you connect with a lot of very successful people. I mean, I've seen you, meet. You've met, like Rooney Surin, who ran in the who ran for Canada the 1996 Olympics. You've met Marky Mark. You've met Hey, anyone who remembers Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch back in the 1990s, and you even have that on your area TV. You even have this great question, this fill in the blank. Success is like, and then you throw a curve to everyone you ask, and
Yeah,
then you
it's been
say,
fun.
yeah, it's always a fascinating thing to ask.
It's always fun to throw people some curveballs and see how they think fast on their feet. And with entrepreneurs, it's very important to be able to think fast on your feet if you want to be successful in business, if you want to be successful in entrepreneurship, even if you want to be successful in speaking. I mean, you can't memorize everything that you're going to say. You can't memorize all your speeches or all your presentations. You can, but it's going to be very, very stagnant, and it's going to be very, very inauthentic because you're not able to connect with the audience. And the more you train your mind to think faster on your feet, the more effective you are when it comes to speaking, communicating, building relationships, running businesses, coming up with ideas. And it's a very, very important skill set to have. So I highly recommend, like, think about stuff that you could throw yourself curveballs with, so you can start training that mind to think fast.
Yeah. But you know what? There's just, in the end, though, there are just three last questions that I have for you. The three critical questions. First, what does living your truth mean to you?
I think as long as I am able to achieve the stuff that I set my mind to without jeopardizing my ethics and my morals, then I have lived my truth.
Right? The second, how does living your truth and being authentic make you a better person?
Well, being authentic means being real. And if you are not real in front of your camera, if you're not real in your videos, then when people start connecting with you, you're not going to have an authentic or real experience. And eventually it's gonna show in front of other people that that's not who you are. And that then ties into truth. If you're going to be inauthentic and not showing your true self in the videos or in your messages and all that kind of stuff, eventually it's going to come back and haunt you. And you're not going to be able to become that success. You're not going to be able to maintain that business or those relationships that you hold dear. Because if you're not true to yourself, eventually those will fall apart, and your own personal view of yourself will start falling apart too.
And finally, what advice would you give to someone looking to embrace their authentic selves?
I would say, I think I kind of mentioned it before, and that is everything that you want to achieve, everything that you want to do, everything that you want to learn. Somebody's doing it, and somebody's doing it right, and somebody's successful at it. Reach out to those people and find out what was their journey, what was their failures, what was their successes, and not just ask one person. You want to ask more than one person so that you could get a good set of information that you could base your own personal path on. And then when it comes to that authenticity, make it your own. Right? Take a little bit from this person's success and apply it to your path. Take a little bit from this person's success and apply it to your path. Take a little bit of this person's failures and adjust what your path is so that you're not going to face the same failures. But don't just follow one. Find a few, ask those questions, and then make it your own.
Words of wisdom from Fong Chua. You've heard it here, viewers and listeners. And in addition, you can follow Fong on his website at www.fongchua.com. And the podcast is available on Spotify. Anything else or any other social media where we can follow you?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook. I'm on there. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram, and also yeah, and my YouTube channel is Your Area TV. So you can find all my stuff there as well. And yeah.
And I'd like to thank my guest.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. Awesome job, and I'm happy to be a part of this community, and I look forward to hearing successes from your audience, and also further growth and success with your show here. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for listening, everyone. And remember, stay true. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you subscribe and like, and you'll keep up to date with the content on my channel.